Raila Odinga was not a politician. Raila Odinga was a leader.
But I think part of what we are now tasked with deciphering is his relationship with the state. And he was an institution in himself.
And then that community will somehow takes over the security arrangements of the head of state. And it's the only time when you will see people running and holding on to the presidential motorcade. It has never happened anywhere.
Like, I don't know if there's any politician that has been defamed as much as Raila Odinga. And then I heard someone on TV say, by the way, he's been defamed, but have you ever seen a defamation suit? There are moments in a country's life that time stops. There are moments when words are too small and feelings are too heavy to bear the feeling of what is happening in the moment. This is Politically Connected. I'm your host, Diana Ngao,
AKA Madam Speaker, and I am Chaka,
AKA the Bishop. Kenya has stopped for a moment. A moment because someone who was detained, defamed, and even denied his victories has rested. We're speaking about Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, who unfortunately and very shockingly passed on the 15th of October. And this episode is the beginning of tribute episodes to the great man, the great legend that our nation has lost. With us here, we have a household name in the media industry and someone who has walked the journey with Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, especially in a couple of election cycles where Raila has been denied his victories. We have with us Dennis Onsarigo as our guest to open up our tribute series. So, karibu sana, Dennis.
Asante sana, Madam Speaker and Bishop. First, let me pay my tributes to Raila Odinga by first saying I am very saddened by sudden death. It came at a time when we did not expect it to happen. But was I prepared for Raila Odinga's funeral? Yes, I was not prepared for his death. Why do I say this? Because if Raila had lived all years and God had granted me a chance to also live my years, then I'd have seen him get buried at old age. But unfortunately, he left us. But from where I see it, my family, my friends, the entire team that has worked with Mzee, it's not my place to send these condolences to Mama Aida and the family. But personally, I condole with the family members, and it's a very difficult time. But I will say what Raila Odinga always said every time we spoke about death or we went for a funeral. He used to say, you cannot choose how you will die, but you can choose on how you want to be remembered. So I think maybe this is how he wanted to be remembered, but he didn't choose to die in a faraway country like India. But I think it is what it is. Yeah. And thank you for inviting me to this show.
No, I mean, it was a natural choice to have you back. And interesting enough, Dennis, I don't know if you remember that you were our guest a year ago around this same time. I don't know how the coincidence happens, but here we are speaking again about someone who you hold so much reverence for, and he also held a lot of reverence for you. And maybe my first question to kick up this is, tell us the first time you met Raila Amolo Odinga.
The first time I met Raila Odinga was, I think, in 2005, formally when we were flying out, I think, to Wajir or Garissa for referendum campaigns. At that particular time, I was a camera person at NTV, and we left Wilson Airport that morning, and I think we are flying in a police chopper, if I'm not wrong, and then they had modified the tank that carries the fuel for the chopper. So they had placed it in the middle of the plane of the chopper, and then Raila was sitting there. The late Bonaya Godana, I think, was also sitting there. Some members of parliament from Northeastern as well. They were also sitting there, and then Raila made this joke and said, if this chopper was to go down, then we are toast. We'll be fried here. And then he laughed about it, but the rest of the people were not very comfortable with that joke. But that was Raila Odinga for you. That's the first time I met him. And we struck a very good friendship. But initially I'd met him in various functions. But that was the most intimate moment I think I had political intimate moment that I had with Raila Odinga, yes.
And this was when now you are a journalist.
Yes.
And how would you describe Baba? Because for us, we know him, or majority of people know Raila as Baba. How would you describe him as this enigma that now everyone knows as Baba? How did he even get that title?
Raila is many things to many people. But to me, Raila Odinga was not a politician. Raila Odinga was a leader. Yeah, and I've said it a million times. And because I think politicians get power by all means, but leaders get power through legit means. So there's this long-held view that Raila did not want to become president. Raila was disorganized. Raila was ABC and D. But from where I see it and the person that I know, Raila Odinga was not your ordinary politician. Raila Odinga was a leader. And to me, I used to call him Mzee. I never called him Raila. I never called him Sir. I never called him Your Excellency. I used to call him Mzee. And he used to call me my son. Yeah, so... as far as the name Baba, as far as the name Enigma, all those things, Nyundo, all those things, where they came from, surely it's been a long political process. But as far as I know, I used to call him Mzee, and I think he loved that name, and he used to call me son. So, yeah, that's how I know Raila Odinga.
You've had very many different moments with the grand enigma of Kenyan politics. You've been in different rooms with him. You've had conversations, you've been privileged to hear conversations that have shaped the trajectory of this nation. You've been alone with him in very quiet moments and seen his deepest introspections. You've been on the road with him. You've traveled not just the country but the world with him. But I want to throw in a politically connected twist by bringing this question to you. Madam Speaker asked you the first time you met Right Honorable Raila Odinga, but what is your earliest memory of Raila Amolo Odinga? Not in person, whether it's on radio, newspaper, on TV, whether it's hearing a conversation about him. What do you think is your earliest memory?
To be honest, this is a very difficult time. I can't remember, Chaka. I can't remember. Did I share this with you? Maybe you.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe to take it to a different question, how you were thrust into his orbit. I remember earlier this year, we also lost somebody who was very close to Baba George, and in fact, you had once shared with us that Many people might not know this, but George was also bodyguard to the late Doyen Jaramogi Oginga Odinga.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, he was.
And in the same way, an aide de camp switches to a new president when the sword and constitution are handed over. George went and stood behind Raila. But in the moment that you were thrust into the orbit of Raila,
Yeah.
how did you first meet George?
That was 2007. 2 years later, after 2005, and in my interactions in this political space, I happened to be in a room where a senior security official who used to be my friend, and now that Baba has rested, I can speak about this. Because I did ask him, can I ever speak about this? He said, yes, you can speak about this. Yeah, and the plan, in fact, was to have it in my book, and the book will be coming out soon. Yes.
Can I stop you there?
Yes, please.
Dennis Onsarigo, you are writing a book.
I'm writing a book because, Madam Speaker, to be honest, I've been in these circles for a very long time. It's only fair that I put my thoughts.
We look forward.
Yeah, in a book.
Yeah.
So, and again, the plan was to ask Baba to be part of this team to help me launch this book, but unfortunately, he left us at a very short time. That tells you where I had gotten to with this book. So the year is 2007. We have elections coming up, and I'm called by a retired commissioner of police. I mean, if people go online quickly, they can know whom I'm talking about. Very fine gentleman. He's now retired, good friend of mine. And then he said, can you get to George Odur? I said, because that time I know you told journalists, you can't tell your source that you don't know George Odur. I said, I know him. And then he said, then get him. He said, I asked why. He said, no, get him. I need you to have something delivered to him. So I think I called Dennis Onyango. That time he was in Raila Odinga circles. And I told him I'm looking for George Odur, Mze's bodyguard. And he said, what for? I said, no, I've been asked to pass some information to him. And then he said, let me give you his number. Then I called him. Then George was somewhere on Jogo Road, Tomboya Social Hall. I think there was like a function there, some baraza of sorts. I called him. I said, I've been sent to you by the Commissioner of Police, and I have a gift for you, a parcel for you. So he showed up the following day, but I told him, come with a passport size, is it mugshot of you? And we met somewhere in town. So we met in town, we had a conversation about Mze's security, and then I passed what I had to pass to him, and then George became a bit heavy after that, after the parcel was passed to him. So then my first informal, if you know, my first informal encounter then with Baba Man was that night when I told George, please, when you get home, can you call me? I also pass some information from the Commissioner of Police to him. And then he said, fine. So at around 8:30, George called, now not from his line, but from Baba's line. Wow. And then Baba said, Dennis, how are you? Fine. You do a good job. But I know Mzee was a politician. I don't think he had even seen anything that I'd done on TV. No, it was not there. But that particular time, I was a renowned crime reporter on TV. So I had a sizable following out there. So I was in very small circles, security circles. So I said, the commissioner says, Jambo, and then he said, tell the commissioner, thank you so much. That's how I got to know him. And then he said, I'll ask George to to give you my number. So that's how I started talking to Raila Odinga, and much later is I think a few months later again, I was sent on another assignment again by someone else and told, pass this information to Mzee. And I did pass the information to Mzee, and it became national news. And it's not my place to talk about it because it was a bit heavy that particular time.
Okay.
But that's how I got to know
Will
Raila.
it be in your book?
Yes,
It
will be in my book, yes,
Okay.
because I don't think it's classified, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but in celebration of this great man, and Mzee was one guy who said, write everything you think is right. Yeah, just write everything you think is right, yeah, and factual. Yeah, as much as, and in fact he said, as much as you do this, and who stops anyone to come and officiate or launch a book that even criticizes him? People should do that. Yeah.
I think why I find some of those stories fascinating is as we're trying to make sense of his passing. He was a colossus, a giant, and even more gigantic in his passing, because now he takes on mythical status. But I think part of what we are now tasked with deciphering is his relationship with the state. And he was an institution in himself. So you can see in what you've shared, I think this is really emblematic of his relationship with the Kenyan state. This is a commissioner of police who sits at the head of the arm of the executive, which has, or one of the arms of the executive, which has the monopoly of violence, which goes to the heart of defining what a state is. Because through the army, through the national police, that's part of what gives the state its power. So it's very interesting that the commissioner of police would be interested in Mzee's security, but as against who? Against that very same state.
Institution,
Yeah. And so you can see this.
And 2007 was such a dividing moment for the country. Like, we were literally pitched in two different directions, and an ugly side came out. So what you're saying is true. Like, for the commissioner, police commissioner to, I don't know whether it was his mandate, but he just took responsibility.
No, I think they're good people.
Yeah.
In every part of government.
Yeah.
And they're people mean well for this country. I mean, someone sat in a room and felt we need to throw an extra layer of security around this man. And not generally because of that was his duty, but because of the higher calling that what if something was to happen to him? I mean, George was around Mzee, but he was very light security-wise. Yeah. And I remember when we did our elections in 2022, George, for the very first time, and because this was supposed to be a confidential thing, but George, out of character completely, called one of the ladies at the secretariat and said, this man, this Dennis guy, is the reason why I am heavy the way I am now. So yeah, and that lady is Winnie Malomba.
I remember Winnie.
You remember her?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was not Ali's mandate to do this, but I think he sat somewhere and said, we are going into an election. It's a build-up to elections, but you cannot have someone very close to Baba not prepared enough. But remember, Mzee's people, I think they can stop a bullet with their bare hands. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and that's how they are wired.
It's something that we've seen also today as his body was arriving at JKIA, and you could see that it was like they owned Baba as well. They were ready to put themselves in harm's way because they were mourning the loss of this this person. So I 100%, I saw it today, and I'm like, and I've seen it a number of times, but more so today. But I want to ask Bishop a question.
Okay.
Interesting.
Plot twist.
Because you sparked my mind when you also asked Dennis about what was his first memory of the late Honorable Raila Odinga. And I want to throw that question to you. What was your first memory of Baba?
My earliest memory of Baba is one of my earliest memories of being aware of politics. And it's one I've shared before, I think, in one of our earliest episodes. And we were in our living room, it's election time, and my parents and my maternal uncle were having a very heated, passionate discussion about who to vote for in a very Kenyan style, how people get really passionate about politics, about football, and this is 1997. So, and I think that's the first time he ran for the presidency. That same year, Mwai Kibaki was on the ballot, and I remember hearing that name for the first time. My uncle was very passionate in supporting him. Charity Ngilu was running the SDP. Some of these details I came to appreciate later. At the time, I didn't know what SDP was or what it stood for. So that's the first time I'm hearing about Raila. But the first time, I had the name, but the first time I got intrigued by him is now much later, around, as I was coming into my teens, around age 12, 13, I was fascinated by the late Michael Kijana Wamalwa. And I remember at the time I used to pray that, dear God, one day grant me the eloquence and oratory of this man. Because he would speak and it was, captivating. So one of the things he said at the time, and I think this was a clip being replayed just after we'd lost him as well. Remember watching TV, and his body is also, he passed away, I think, in London. Yes. And so they were replaying clips of Wamalwa's life. And Michael Kijana Wamalwa was talking about this dichotomy of Raila phobia and Raila mania. And I was like, what is that? And he said that the country is actually divided into two, those who have Raila mania and those who have Raila phobia. And so when you see actually even we've never seen anything like that at the airport where crowds are overrunning. This is an international airport, the gateway to the region. And you're having boda-bodas on the tarmac. You have people climbing the plane. You have people, the tarmac was overrun. This is not a banana republic. And so that's Raila mania. And at the same time, you have people paralyzed when, businesses close. They don't know what might happen because of this passion. Others have now, what's the future of the country? Even when he's not there, people are already fearful of. Yeah. So I think in this moment, we are getting to still see that, what Michael Kijana Wamalwa referred to as Raila mania and Raila phobia. So the first time I heard his name, 1997, but now when Michael Kijana passes on, I saw that clip and I now got a lot more curious about Mzee.
Wow.
Fast forward, then when was your first encounter?
It's interesting. I was
man to man, and I think I asked the same to Dan. I'm not the host, but I think I like where I find myself in asking these questions now.
It's really interesting that you say that because I was thinking about it as you were talking about the plane to Wajir. My first one-on-one encounter with him, up close and personal, was actually thanks to chairman over here, Mr. Dennis Onsarigo. And we had gone to one of his private offices in Karen, one of Mze's private offices in Karen. And in the way that many people don't get to know what many people do for this country, people may not, although when his book comes out, they may get to know that chairman here was very instrumental in setting up a private office for the late Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Very beautiful office. I hope you'll include the photos in the book. And we had gone to see him because that time, this is 2022, we're running comms from Mze, and chairman is a press secretary, and I was helping in strategic communications. And I remember he was to do an address from his private office, but there was no speech that had been prepared at that point in time. I don't know whether we'd left the laptop in the other campaign office or the main campaign office. And so chairman challenged me and gave me a piece of paper and a pen. Yes.
Uandike speech hivyo.
Hapo. And Mzee is waiting. Yeah.
The pressure is getting worse.
And he's waiting. And this is now my first encounter with the man. President is a presidential candidate. Now, one-on-one encounter, that is. So I write down something. I just get into the zone, and I'm trying to make sure that the handwriting is legible. And I can still remember how he had this smile, chairman, because it's like he was not worried. He was like, just do it, don't worry, So I gave it to him, and I remember, in fact, it's like time stopped, to borrow a phrase used earlier. We're in his office, and he's seated on a white couch, those beautiful sofa sets that were in his office. And he starts reading it. The room is dead quiet. He's reading, he looks up, looks at me, goes down, he continues reading. And his eye, I don't know if you've ever seen his eyes real close, they're intense. He's reading, he looks up. He's reading, he looks up. It's like, okay. And he stands up and he read it and he owned it, actually. And of course, as just before he was reading, when he was handing it over to him, because I was in a separate room writing it, he now introduced me with my full names and the like, and that was my very first one-on-one encounter.
Wow. Hey, mine is a bit interesting. I'll start with my first memory of Raila, or what I can remember. And it's similar because it's also the same time where I got politically conscious. And it was around the 2001 to 2002 general elections when it was getting heat, and Raila alisema Raila tosha. Now I didn't know, Kibaki tosha. Now I didn't know what this meant, but it seemed to have shifted the energy in the country. Everywhere we were going, everyone was talking about Rainbow, Kibaki, Raila. It was always Kibaki, Raila, Ngilu. The names that were there. I remember we're in school and everyone is just calling the names of these people, and I'm like, okay, Kibaki, we've seen he's a presidential candidate. Who is this Raila? So I think for me that time is when he came into my consciousness, there's this political player called Raila. Fortunately, and this is something I've never said publicly, but I come from a political family, and I was fortunate that during the swearing-in of Kibaki's cabinet to be at State House.
Laura, you like that.
I was very young then. I was in primary school, but
And I'll tell you how we felt Kibaki's people played us again in 202 then.
Oh, really?
Because I was there 201.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
telling you. Yes.
So in State House, and I mean we were I was in primary school, so all these figures were just figures to me. They're just people who are going about their job. But I remember for me what was so clear, the people who to me I'm like, okay, that's a name or a person I remember, was of course the new sworn-in president. There was what's his name, Dr. Mukisa Kitui, and Raila Odinga. For why? Because during the NAC, Mukisa Kitui and Raila Odinga used to have songs, you know. I remember Mukisa Kitui was songs like Niliuliza Rais Moi Rafiki yake akina nani. And then, you know, and then Baba comes on stage and he's also having a sing. Like there was just some, let me say, a flair of their personality that just sticks to anyone, even a child. So that was the first time I was introduced to Baba. To be honest, I did not think of him as the enigma. It was just like, oh, this is such an interesting person to meet. Until now, later on, during the Grand Coalition government, I was still young. And just in some of these political circles, I was still in school, but I come from a political family. Honorable Raila Odinga had come to visit now my relative at home, and he came with Mama Ida and his family. And that was the first time now for me, because now I'm older and I'm connecting more dots. And we've just come from the backdrop of 207. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is the Raila. You know, even when I was going to shake his hand, I was like, yeah. I can't wait to go back and tell my friends. Yeah, those days, and unfortunately, hakukuwa na picha. Little did I know that years later, I'd find myself tirelessly campaigning for Raila to be president in 2022. Now, my freshest memory of Raila was when NAC Kenya decided to sign into Azimio. And that was around the same time I also met Dennis Onsarigo here. So we met the day before at Serena, and we were planning, okay, this is where the event will be. And I struck a deal with Dennis. This is the first time I've met him. And I told him, let us be the ones to release the photo. So Baba and Martha sit in a boardroom, they talk, then that's when they come out and address the crowd. And then he said, yeah, it will just be Baba and Martha. Sawa, relax. I mean, we've already struck a deal. Nimeenda chini kidogo, I'm going on social media and I've seen a photo of Martha and Baba in the boardroom.
It wasn't me.
That has And so in that space is when the freshest memory of my adult life that I did meet Raila Odinga. But I could tell even by his energy, there was something really special about this man. The way people operated around him, and he didn't feel as great as how he was. He was humble enough to even stop on the way, and he's just saying hi to anyone. And he used to have this thing, like, especially if there are many people, who just put his hand up like this, yani just to say hi. And to me, I was just watching him in these hallways at this time when 2022 politics is getting hotter. And I'm like, wow, this is the Raila, coming from now all those years when I was a child. I didn't see him in the light, and I think 2022 is when I finally now saw Raila, away from the Raila that the media plays, away from the Raila with the divisive politics that politicians would throw at him. That's why I said in the beginning that he's been defamed a lot. Like, I don't know if there's any politician that has been defamed as much as Raila Odinga. And then I heard someone on TV saying, by the way, he's been defamed, but have you ever seen a defamation suit?
No.
And I was like, this guy must be the most forgiving person, because the number of things that have been thrown at Raila, even for me ningekuwa nime catch feelings. But I mean, that's for me for two. I think 2022 was the first time I really saw Raila away from the different tags that he's given, mzee wa kitendawili. You know, I mean, that was when you're growing up, you're hearing all these things. But 2022 really just shaped a completely, I saw Raila the man. Yeah, and thanks to the press secretary here who put us in those rooms to advise Baba. And I want to say, I remember when they were doing a joint media interview with Raila and Martha, and Chaka with the good English was the one briefing the two candidates. And I remember how in the beginning, we were all like, no, let Dennis do it, because Dennis is casual with Baba. And Dennis, you are like, no, Chaka.
Let him do it.
You're the one to do it.
I'm a leader like that.
Yeah. And I remember it was the four of us in the room with the two candidates. There was also another colleague with us. And I don't know how we didn't take a picture.
I have the photo. I think I said let me delay it until Baba is rested that I can share the photo with you guys.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's only fair that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, Chama, now that we've opened up and seen like who we're talking about now, Baba the man, I'm sure in your walk and journey with him, you have gotten to see him in different lights than we have. Because for Chaka and I, we got into his space late from 2022 onwards. I want you to walk us back now. You told us about 207. Now walk us back from 207, Sasa. How do you continue in this lexicon of Raila Amolo Odinga?
Because I thought, when I looked at our age difference here, I said, let me not go back to 201. Yeah, but I worked for Kibaki.
I
was in Kibaki's secretariat in 201, straight from college. Dennis Itumbi and I. But after the elections, we were I think we were forgotten outside State House.
You didn't?
Get D. No, we didn't go anywhere after the elections. And but I mean, it's a beautiful thing that I was part of this Rainbow Coalition thing as a young media person at the time, student. And but I used to see Raila come to Mwenge House. That was the NARC and NARC headquarters somewhere in Hurlingham. But I remember when we were setting up the public address system at Uhuru Park, Raila came to inspect the grounds in the morning and then he left. But at that particular time, because there was this euphoria that had swept across the country by the time Raila had said Kibaki Tosha, the focus was so much on Kibaki more than Raila until the elections were done. Yeah. When the elections were done and when Raila felt we have been shortchanged, because that team used to meet there, it was called the Summit, I think. They used to meet at Mwenge House, and then the meetings became a bit less. And Mwenge House was collapsed. We were kicked out. Rent was never paid. We were never paid. We tried to demonstrate. It was shut down, and we went back to the streets to try and preach at Kencom, to try and survive. But that's a story for another day. So fast forward then to 207, I meet Raila. Then the elections are lost in 207. So I go back to my life. But I tried getting in touch with him several times now when he had become prime minister. And he'll say, come to Wilson. I go to Wilson, and then he'll tell his chief of staff, I think is Karoli Omondi that time. And Karoli will say, I'll organize a meeting for you. And then...
Did it ever happen?
No, it never happened. It never happened. So when I called Mzee 5 years later, he was in Mombasa. He had lost an election now in 2013, in March, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
I called him and he said, Dennis, where did you go? I said, Mzee, I've been trying to look for you. He said, which country? I said, in Kenya.
Also, he was shocked.
He was shocked because I gave up because
Yeah.
I could not get to him.
Yeah.
Because every time I'll show up at Wilson or at this office, private office, he'll say, Karoli, organize a meeting for this young man. He has to come and see me. So I call Karoli. He'll say he's in CI. I call him. He's
busy.
He's busy. He's everywhere. Became a circus. So I gave up. So when I called him, then he said, I'm recuperating after they have stolen our victory. I'll be back in Nairobi. Look for me. So the Raila I know, the Mzee I know, every time Raila loses an election, we've never lost one. It's a fact.
I said it today on Twitter.
We've never lost an election in this country. We never lost an election.
2022, I'm convinced.
No, we never lost.
Beyond doubt.
We've never lost an election in this country. I think the system was set up that way, that Raila will not be president, and it was instilled in some quarters that this is a generational curse, nonsense. I'm sorry for using those words, but privately, Raila will say the same words that I've used. Honorable Raila, even in death, he will say the same words that I've used. So when I met him, with Mohammed Ali, Kevin Kea at Capitol Hill, and I had a presentation for him. That was 2013. Then he said, we set up. It was a very small office. That particular time it was not well furnished, but he was there. So I sat there and we had a conversation. So he was very interested to understand where I've been, what I've been doing. And then now I told him, we were thinking, the three of us, we want to start a journey with you. We create a program for the youth, which we later dubbed Kikao, which went around counties. I think we did like 10 counties before the election fever caught up with us in 2017. So then that was how I formally now started consulting for Raila Odinga. And I remember my first image in my presentation was a monkey holding a gun. And then Raila says, who is the monkey? I said, Mzee, forget about the monkey. Let's look at the gun. And he said, what about the gun? He said, Mzee, this is how people have framed us, the opposition, that if you give a monkey a gun, what can the monkey do? Shoot itself or shoot someone else? And he laughed about it. He really laughed about it. So I thought he would take offense. I said, this is how opposition is viewed in this country. But then I posed a question. I said, Mzee, I feel even if we were to have very close family members, if I have to bring my father, if Kevin was to bring his uncle, and we become commissioners in IEBC, we still cannot win an election in this country as long as you're running. And then that got to him. And then he gave us a lecture, not a dress down, but a lecture about why people given responsibilities should be able to deliver. Yeah. You are appointed an IEBC chairperson. You have to deliver because you've been appointed an IEBC chairperson. You don't have to be bribed. You don't have to be coerced. That is your mandate. And history will judge you harshly if you don't do it. So then started my journey now, my political journey with Raila Odinga, I think in 2014. He used to call us my Alfajiri team. So he used to meet somewhere at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga Foundation on Kindaruma Road, if I'm not wrong. Somewhere in Upper Hill. That's where we used to meet. And then now we started the journey of turning Raila Odinga from the Raila you used to see on TV to another Raila it was a mix of young and old, because now we were young and we were trying to bring in this youth side. Yeah, quickly let me tell you what we did. Our first encounter then was in Mombasa, where we had set up the Kikao. And then I went home. I told Mama Aida, I needed to give me Mzee's shoe size and his waist size. He said Mzee chooses what he has to wear, and Mzee packs his own clothes, by the way, so no one packs for him. He packs his own clothes. And because I think, like any other old person, your parents want to come home, and where they left their shoes, they want to find them there. if there's this particular coat he likes wearing, he will wear it every day. So Raila had this not very nice brown, jacket and patterned shirt, which when he wore that brown and that brown again, he was off completely. So we said, let's try and change his dressing style because he was going to meet the youth. Yeah. So when Mama Ida gave me, he said his size something, his shoe size is this. Then we were in Mombasa and we bought 3 outfits. So one was large, one was small, and the last one was the fitting one. Why did we do this? Because I think I understood Raila Odinga's patience span. Because I sat with him for a very long time for me to know that he will do this, he will get agitated at this, and then at some point he will say, fine, then let me try the last one, I'll not try another one again. So that is exactly what we did. And then he tried the first one, he said it's too big. And then he tried the second one, he said this is too small. So he was getting agitated. Then I said, let's try the last one. And he said, no, I have clothes. He went and brought something else. And it was a suit in Mombasa in the heat. I said, then we have our last outfit, let's try it. So we tried it, it fit him perfectly. So it was khaki pants, loafers, and a t-shirt, Apollo. T-shirt. Yes, Apollo t-shirt. Apollo shirt. So he wore them, but he said, I have a cape. And then we told him, we also have one. Oh. So it was the fedora, I think. Oh. That's the one we gave him. And then he said...
that's such an iconic, because...
Exactly.
Many people just remember him with that fedora.
So our first... the first photos that came out of that Kikao encounter in Mombasa, everyone was calling and said, how did you manage to have Mzee dress like this? Like, is this young? So from there now it caught fire, and then Mombasa, we went to Kisii, we went to Nyamira, we went to Kakamega, we traveled this country to try and bring the youth together. And then, of course, we brought the presidential aura around Raila Odinga, because, we had instances where you'll ask Raila Odinga, as powerful and as revered as he was, you will ask Raila to step on a plastic chair and address the people, and he'll agree. You'll agree. He didn't see anything wrong. There's a time he fell through a podium somewhere in Lamu. Yeah. So those are the conversations we used to have with him. He said, you can't do this, you can't do that. He'll say, fine, how do you want me to go about it? And to be honest, I'm one of the very few people who used to say, Mzee, I'm not an experienced politician, but please allow me to say this. So I will hide behind inexperience for me to say what I think Mzee should do. So there are things we should agree about, what he should say, what he should not say. And then one day he went and said the opposite thing. You know what he did the following day when he came for the meeting? He came with the daughter. So when you're there with your daughter, you can't ask Raila a thing. Yeah. So we knew... we can't ask him. And then he came and he said, what is next, Dennis? And then we said, now we're going to Kilifi, we need you to call ABC. And he said, he made the call. He said, fine, you guys go, I'll join you. So that's how I started my journey with Raila. But that at a particular time I was at KTN, so I was still consulting. So, yeah. Okay.
So you start your journey with Right Honorable Raila Mzee as a consultant, as a professional. But I think you later came to realize that there was something he saw in you beyond your professional capacity. At what point does your relationship change from one of a professional consultant to one where it is a father and son relationship, which many people did not know or were aware about?
But for me, it was so evident seeing how you and Baba interacted, especially during 2022. I remember telling you, I'm like, you're like his son. Yeah.
No, that's very true. I mean, I think I spent most of my time with Mzee, not to talk about work, but just to socialize and have conversations. I will call him. He'll say in his Mombasa, I say, let me come and say hello to you. He'll say, no, come in the morning, let's have breakfast. Or come in the evening, let's have dinner. Or there's a game to watch. Arsenal is playing tonight. Come, let's go and watch. So slowly, then we became very, very, very close. And I think the level of trust as well, because if Babaman will give me an assignment to do, I will deliver. And there's no day that I went to him and said, Mzee, I need you to intervene in something, and he says no. And I think I also, for lack of a better phrase, in this particular, because in politics there's no reading the room. I think sometimes it's forcing your way through the room, but in those circles I was able to read the room. I knew when to get in touch with him. I knew when to let him be. I knew when he was agitated about something. So slowly then I got to understand him. I got to understand what kind of a person he is, and he also got to understand maybe what a kind of a person I was, because the things I will tell him and he'll remind me much, much later. And then it hit me that indeed we had struck a personal relationship, father and son. And I remember there's a time I went to Karen and we were having lunch. It was Mama Ida. Mama Ida used to sit on the left. So visitors, people like me, we used to sit on the right of Mzee. So it was the three of us having lunch. And then Mzee said, no, Mama Ida said, I can't get Mzee water and your son is here. So I went to fetch for Mzee water, drinking water. I came. And then Mzee said, you know, this young man, this boy here is a product of a second wife. And then yeah, I say that. So, and something I told him a very long time ago. I say, you know, if the mother was not married, he will not be here. So, you know, then Mama Ida said, what are you saying? And then we laughed about it. Yeah, but it struck me that Mzee had a way of remembering things about people, about events, and then much later, when he came for my father's funeral, when I lost my father, I think in the year, in the year 2020, he's the one who called me and said, Dennis, I hear you have lost your dad. What do you want me to do? Those were his exact words. Do you want me to come? Yeah. Do you want me to come to where you live in Nairobi, or you want me to come for the funeral? I said, Mzee, it has just happened. Let's plan. He called me 3 days later, asking the same question. Do you need any help? I said, Mzee, no, I'm in good hands. I've gotten so many calls. I'm comforted, all those things. And then again, he called after another 3 days. He said, Dennis, let Mondo, who was his chief of staff, know what your plan is, so that I can also arrange my diary. So that I want to attend your father's funeral. And then so a week later, I called him. I told him, now we are ready. We will want to do the burial on a Friday. And then he said, fine. Mondo will call you the moment he has booked it in my diary. So Mondo called me and said, Mzee has another funeral on this day. I told Mondo, then it's not my place. Why don't you tell him? Yeah. Then he said, no, you call him, you have to push this funeral. I said, no. Push? Yes, I said, no, you can't do it. And then the governor of Kisii also called me and said, we have a meeting in State House with the president on that Friday, and I can't go to State House. I have to go to State House, but I also want to be for this funeral because my party leader, Raila, was the ODM party leader that particular time, and Ongwae was the governor. I also want to attend, push this thing to next week. I said, no, I can't do it. Then I called Mzee. I said, I'm a bit frustrated. He asked why. I said, someone in office is saying this, Governor Ngwais. He said, no, I'm coming there as your friend, not as a party leader. Okay. Then he said, let me call you. I could hear he was very agitated. So the call that came in was not from him, but it was from the chief of staff saying, Mzee is coming. And then that evening he called and he said, but Dennis, now you have to release me at some point. Exact words. You have to release me because my people had booked another funeral in Migori. So I'll come, but you have to release me at some point. So that is exactly what happened. He came. So the number of people he came with, I turned and asked him, I thought you were coming alone. Do you know what he said? He said, but you're my son. Yeah, but you're my son, Dennis. Yeah, so that was Raila for you. So Raila was a father to me. Yeah, yeah, he was a very good man. Yeah.
So this is not just somebody who would listen and take counsel, but he would also show up in very key moments. Is there another, maybe because you spent a lot of time with him, is there another key moment where you saw him show up for other people in ways that people may not realize? A lot of our politicians really tend to put on a show of helping other people, and they have to be seen so that they can be praised. And I think one of the things we came to learn about the Honorable Raila is that he would help a lot of people, and many people would not know about it at all. And then it would be mistaken that he is not generous. And yet, ironically, those who are closest to him would say that he's the most generous person.
Exactly. Yeah. So many times. So many times. And this became a very big conversation when my father died, when he came. And then, so now the politicians who had accompanied him were standing saying, "Oh, Dennis Pole Sana, I have left 50,000. Dennis Pole Sana, I've left you 10,000." You know what he did? He turned and he asked, "I have something for you here. Do you want me to announce it, or do you want me to give it to you?" Because I see he had counted the number of my family members. And he said, from this, I'm seeing your family is very big. Okay. And, families tend to fight over small things, or there might be disagreement. All these, our people here will think you have gotten so much money. I said, give it to my oldest brother. Yeah. Then he turned, he told George, there's a way, when Raila speaks, you really have to sometimes imagine what he's saying, even if he doesn't say it. Yeah, Raila is this man who, when he turned, everyone turned. So you have to decide, when he's turning, what does he want? Yeah, what is it he wants? That was Raila for you. So when he turned and they had a conversation with George, who died, and was a very personal friend of mine. He gave me his pole, and much later, when there were issues about Raila came for the funeral because he had nothing to do, or he didn't help you, all those things, I said, people don't understand this man. And several times when we used to go and see him and you tell him someone has passed on, he'll say, take this amount of money. And it's not small money. And he says, don't mention it. If you're giving out money, don't mention it. There's a time there was a fundraiser at Holy Saints Cathedral, I think. And he was to go there. He was so agitated because they wanted to announce that he has come with money. He was so agitated about it. They said, why do we have to announce what we are giving people? Why? Why do we have to announce? So we used to do it. There's a time I sat with him and he had taken his phone. He used to have a very big phone, of course, fitted with a big charger. Yeah. Yeah, because an enigma, of course. And he'll take a piece of paper, and he was jotting down a number. Then he called one of his aides. He said, send this amount of money to this number. I asked him, Mzee, you also know M-Pesa? He said, of course I know M-Pesa, Dennis. Then he said, no, this is for this lady from Turkana. She's been with me since 1990. And our kids are going to school and they don't have school fees. So I want them to send her the money. So, and I used to be in places where someone will call him, oh, Mzee, this is your friend, I don't know, from Teta Taveta or 1992, because his phone was very loud. So he said, Mzee, sina kitu. He said, then nitakutumia kitu. Then he will take his number, he'll call someone in his circles, they'll send the money. So there's a time we asked him, Mzee, this is politics. And I think that was the most stupid question I did ask him, to be honest. When really? I look back, I said, Mzee, this is politics. So why can't we pronounce ourselves in these donations? Yeah. This. He said, he gave us a lecture. He said, no, we don't have to do it. I mean, you don't have to do it. Why then do you have to do it?
Most people might be surprised to learn that, very ironically, during the Gen Z protest, he used to donate money every day so that people can be given water.
Exactly.
And protesters.
Yes.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
He used to donate money to
every
that
day.
Every day for protesters.
For money for water to be bought.
And you know, that also brings me to a memory or something. You know, there was a version of Raila that was put out in the media, especially being a long-term opposition leader. And I remember, especially in 2017, there was a lot of mandamanos, those, what was it, Mondays? What was it? Tear gas Mondays, right? And for many people who may not be so keen to understand who this Raila is, what has he been fighting for and stuff, he just looked at someone who was like almost a lord of violence. But in 2022 and onwards, I remember, especially during campaign time, there's a lot of fanaticism around Raila, like when he's going somewhere, like what we saw even in the airport, a lot of overflowing love. I'll call it love because now I got to see it today in a different picture. But these people who come and now the bodyguards are there trying to push them around. And every single time there was a bit of chaos around Raila, he would always tell them, usiwaumize, like just don't hurt them. You can tell them to move pole pole. And to me, who was fortunate to be in that space and seeing on the ground, I'm like, na kuna mtu alikuwa anatuuzia huyu ni mzee wa maandamano, you know?
Let me tell you,
and just seeing that humanity of Raila Odinga, that it doesn't matter who you are, he really did deeply care about people, and especially the Kenyan people.
Let me tell you, and adding to what you just said, Raila, two things disturbed him a lot. He didn't know what to do about it. The sight of blood and someone crying. Yeah, and I have been in rooms where I think I've had 2 or 3 people crying, and then some senior leader said, kwa nini mama analia? And then Mzee turned and said, why do you think she's crying? Yeah, let her cry. Let her cry. So everything stops when Raila doesn't know what to do. Not that he doesn't care. He doesn't know what to do when he sees someone crying. It confuses him. It works him up, and everything stops. I have seen it, and one of them was a gubernatorial candidate, and she cried and she said, "These people want to rob me of my ticket." And Mzee intervened. I mean, everything stopped. He intervened and he said, and someone was saying, "No, mama." He said, "Mama, why are you calling her mama? Why are you calling her that?" And then she was crying. And the second time was when she came to a place where people had been injured, and it got him worked up a lot. So that is a side of Raila Odinga that people didn't know about and never appreciated. Those things work him out a lot.
Yeah. I think I've just thought of also something that maybe you were. This was August 15th, 2025, when I don't want to say lost. I don't believe we lost that election. Na sasa hata nitasema at the rooftop, we did not lose that election.
There's a difference between winning elections and winning a presidency.
Yeah.
So he won very many elections. He just didn't win the presidency.
Well, in that time there was chaos at Bomas, and press secretary here was with the presidential candidate, the running mate, and a number of his close allies. And I remember Chaka and I were also at Bomas, and you gave us a signal, exit. Yes. And now we get into this room, and it seemed that, even the way Baba was sitting, I remember he was seated like this on that really nice couch you're saying, and he was seated like this. Everyone is tense. But when you look at Baba, it was like, it's just a normal day we are watching. We're watching what happened in IBC. So I because there were many people, so I moved to the back of the room, and I just kept on pestering Dennis. What now? Like, what now? And you can't speak loudly, but I'm just here poking him. I'm like, what's happening? And Dennis is like, because also Dennis's eyes was at Raila. So of course, because I've been told where to Leah, so now I'm also looking at our candidates, a presidential ticket. So Raila is here, Martha is here. I'm at the back, maybe like 2-3 people, but I could see them. And he has one leg stretched out, and everyone is watching the TV. And me, I could see the anxiousness in everyone's eyes. I could feel it. Like, others were even crying. Like, I could feel it. But Baba, even after Chebukati made the announcement, imagine, next thing it was just tea, and everything just moved on as well. And to me, I felt that loss as if it was me, as if I was Raila seated on that seat. But seeing how he just didn't let it faze him. And even secondly after, I don't know how he had the ability to absorb such bad news or prosecution and still let it go. It was like, it was movement. It never sank. I don't think I saw Raila in that period of 2022. Maybe you did because you were closer with him. I don't think I saw him really down, because to him, I think it was more about the country than it really was about himself. Because how everyone else was in chaos, but then there's this mzee who's just seated there like this. And I'm like, I kept saying, even through mourning the loss, I kept on saying, man, Mungu nipatie hiyo roho ya Raila ya ku let it go. Let it go and move on.
Then that reminds me of 2017 when we again had our that was stolen. That was robbery with violence. They robbed us, our election in 2017, and we were in a room again at ABC Place where we had set up our small secretariat, and I remember very well. Raila was sitting there, and then elections results start coming in, and then when there was a lead, an unexplained lead of 300,000 votes, then it hit me. I went to him, I said, Mzee, why does this look like 2013? Because suddenly we have 300,000 votes from nowhere.
Oh, so you're in the lead?
Yes, we were in the lead when we started, but the Jubilee regime then overtook us. And then it went to 600,000 votes. I went to Mzee, I told him, Mzee, in 2013, this figure came to 900,000 votes, and we never caught up with these people. And even before I finished talking, 900,000, we never got anywhere near those results again. So it is midnight. So I'm standing there with Dennis Onyango. Onyango is saying, let us reject these elections. We've been here before, Dennis. We've been here before 2013. This game was played on us. Mzee is sitting there. So everyone is now waiting for leadership from Mzee. And Orengo then comes in. Yeah, he comes in. I don't know where he was. He comes in and he said, they have done it again. But this is a story for another day. I mean, then Mzee says, he said, no, this percentage will come down. Dennis told him, Mzee, this percentage will not come down. These people have stolen our election. They have done what they did to us in 2013. So it is midnight. Everyone, Diana, left us. Everyone left us. Even some young man who was my friend and had hired him just to chauffeur me around because I had so much work to do at that particular time. He left me. He left. Aliwacha gari kwa parking, akawachia soldiers ile card ya kulipa. So it is midnight. Then finally now, we went to Mzee. We told him we need to reject these results. He sat there. He turned and said, I have not lost. This country has lost. Yeah, I have not lost. This country has lost. And then we stood up and then we rejected the results. But I remember how people came down hard on us and said, if the servers were hacked, where did you get your results from? I mean, it became a circus. To be honest, we didn't handle it very well then, but we didn't handle the entire communication beat because I think emotions were very high everywhere. So trying to put our case across to the media became a bit difficult because now they were saying, if you have your results, then where did you get them if you're rejecting these other results? So we were caught up in that place. But as God will plan it, the election was nullified because there was no election. Yeah, there was no election. And I remember now when the repeat election came, I think maybe I was a bit young. I remember calling Mzee and I told him, Mzee, let's call out our bases and tell them not to get involved in these repeat elections. And you know what Mzee said? Mzee said, we have only one country, Dennis. So if you people are asking me not to ask people to go out there and vote, what if we don't have a country tomorrow? That's exact words. And he was in Bondo that time. Then he went for a church function and then he said, I'm asking our people, I don't know the exact words he said, but he said, I'm asking our people to stay at home, but let the election go on. We didn't want elections, to be honest, because we agreed that if we cannot have elections in some places, then we'll have denied President Uhuru Kenyatta legitimacy to run this country. Yeah. But in his wise wisdom, he said, you'll balkanize this country and then we cannot have a country. But there's only one republic, Migori Republic, where elections were not held. Yeah, they were not held there. Really? They were not held, Diana. Not a single election was held in Migori County. But it came at a very high cost. So that is Raila for you. When people say that this man was power hungry, I mean, but you will sit in a room and say, we have only one country. Where will you want us to go? And again, I realized over time, when someone grows a bit old and more wiser, I mean, they want to die and get buried where they were born, not in a refugee camp somewhere or not in a failed state. So for me, those are some of the lessons that I learned from Mzee over time. Yeah.
I want us now, because we're closing, I want us to talk about what happened today. We saw outpouring love when not maybe just from when we got the news that Honorable Raila Odinga has rested. Maybe I want to ask both of you, all of you, what was your first reaction when you learnt of his untimely death?
I chuckle a little bit because it's I think they talk about the stages of grief, and the first one is usually denial. So I think it still hasn't quite hit me that he has. I was driving for a morning meeting, and I was expecting a call from a friend, and so he called me. And the first thing he says to me is, nasikia mzee ametuacha. And I told him, let me call you back. And so I then made a series of phone calls, 3, of people who would know. And one of them was chairman. And all 3 people confirmed in different ways. And in fact, I remember chairman saying that we have all lost and we're all in this together. It was, I'll admit, it was surprising, but it was not shocking. Because we wished long life and good health for Mzee. And I think at a certain point, many of us took it for granted, and partly because of his resilience. He was a man with more than 9 lives. He just kept coming back. And hopefully, Chair can also tell us about that time, because you spent quite a bit of time with him during COVID, when we thought that he was really on the brink. And I think at that point his health deteriorated quite a bit. But given the headlines and the discussion for the past few weeks, and having been in spaces in the last month where I interacted with him up close and personal, every time I was with him, one time at a meeting in his home, and another time in a government establishment, I had a gripping sense of anxiety, because you could just see this fatigue. It's like he was wearing the fatigue. You could hear it in his voice. And it's almost like even when he's walking, you almost want to. He would appear strong, but if you're close enough, you'll notice that. And given this is in contrast to the energy we saw 2 years ago. Yeah. The man was tireless.
Yeah.
He was
in 2022,
tireless.
By the time we get to stop number 4, as we are tired, and Baba is still
and he's up early in the morning. He's up late. He's there on the podium. He's speaking, and even when the rest of the team is tired, he just kept going. So having that contrast, seeing that energy, and now recently just this fatigue. And Chairman here invited me, I think a year and a half ago, to one of those sessions where watching Arsenal, I was eating amachoma in Nairobi West and the like, and he was cracking jokes. He's laughing. You had everybody laughing, and he stayed there for long. So even as recently as a year ago, he was still quite strong. But in the last month, and then right after that is when now you hear a lot of social media. 3 headlines last week. I remember Standard, Nation, Taifa Leo were talking about his health. So, and I remember last week I actually called someone and asked, what's going on? And the person told me, no, I just spoke with him. He's fine. So it was, in that sense, because of that anxiety, it was surprising because, I mean, it's death, and this is a figure who's larger than life, and he's defined Kenyan politics in a big way, and you never know the moment it comes. No one can be prepared for it, but it wasn't shocking. But I'll say one more thing in terms of my reaction is shortly after, it just dawned on me, and it has been dawning on me more and more, that we are now in a new political dispensation. The trajectory of the country has shifted irreversibly. We have not just lost a man, we have lost an entire institution. Somebody even said we've lost an entire system. Maybe lost is maybe because of the attachment, but it's taken on mythical status. But there's a lot that now changes with him, and I found myself reflecting on key historical figures who rested and what it meant for the trajectory of a country. Because there's a lot that can be said, but let me also just say that in the next elections, and when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about 2027 or whenever they'll be. It's going to be the first time in 3 decades that he will not be on the ballot. In 3 decades. But somebody then also pointed to me, it's not just the next general elections. We're going to see it from the by-elections that are coming up.
Yeah, in November. And you, where were you? How did the...
Let me play out some context for you before I answer that question. When Baba contracted COVID in, I think, 2020, he became a big story in the country, and so there was debate. Do we tell the public? Do we not tell them? What do we do? So at that time, I was one among the many people managing Raila Odinga social media handles or pages. So I called him, and then he was at Nairobi hospital. He'd just been admitted. And then I asked him, Mzee, how are you? He said, I'm fine. I've just seen a doctor. Mzee had this way of, I don't know whether it is the relationship I had with him. He had this way of, for example, telling me what he did the whole day. And I'll just stay on phone and listen to him. I woke up this morning, I did this, I went, all those things. And I don't know whether he forgot that I also kept an eye on him as well, because I will know. Because he said, I've just come back from Kilgoris, but I know where he was. So, but that was Mzee for you. So then he said, the doctor's just come, he sent me, I checked my vitals, my oxygen levels are fine, my heart is in a good place, all those things, and I'm fine. And then he cracked a cruel joke in the process, and he said, nasikia hata jirani yetu hapa Pombe pia yeye ako hapa. I said to him, yeah, there's that rumor. He said, okay, but we are fine. We'll be fine. And then I asked him, he said, no, let the people know. Let the people know that I'm not okay. I mean, but yes. So we went to media and we said it. So then we managed the entire process until he left hospital. And then the COVID thing took a turn for the worse. So we thought he had recovered. Then one day I go to Karen, and so we said, let's give him time to recover then. So let's give him a few days to recover. When I got there, the person I meet at the main gate is George, who is very close to me. He said, Dennis, we don't want you to see him there today. I said, he called me, because I called him in the morning, but the way he was the way we were having that conversation on phone, I felt he was really struggling to talk. So, but I had no idea that he had tubes running from his nose to an oxygen tank on his side. So when I got there, George said, Mzee is not feeling very well. So when George said that, just immediately, it was 1 o'clock, immediately Mzee calls me, said, Dennis, where are you? I said, Mzee, I'm at the main gate, I'm coming in. So, of course, orders are orders. George hears that, he allows me to go. When I met Mzee, I felt so bad because I said, why did I even come? Yeah, because he was not in a very good state. He was struggling to eat. But shock of shocks, that day he personally served me. So he was sitting like this. So he was eating omena. And then, you know omena, I hope you know. Then he asked me, what do you call omena in Kisii? I told him, Mzee, you know, as a community, we feel that the Luos took most of our names. They took Ondieki, Onyango, from us as Kisis. And then they said, you know, the mother of the Kisis died in Kisumu and she was buried there. So he only went with your father to Kisii. So he believes that even the Luyas are Luos, even the Kisis are. So but I told him, so I will keep quiet so that he also keeps quiet so he can eat. So imagine Raila trying to eat and speak to you and trying to breathe at the same time. It was very difficult for him. So I sat with him there, he ate, and then he took a nap. He woke up, he said, Dennis, you're still here? I said, yes, Mzee, I'm still here. Okay, let me go up and rest. So I helped him, he went up, rested. And then at 4 o'clock, I'm being called again. I said, I'm down at the gazebo. He has a gazebo. He said, Mzee is calling you. I went. Sat there with him. He was having some tea or something like that. Then we sat there with him. So I did that for a couple of days. And to be honest, I was scared for Mzee. But the world didn't know this. So I had my moments when I felt, oh, this is bad. Oh, this is very, very, very bad. So when now he recovered and then he met Kikuyu elders at his home, and then when he was walking, I realized he could only do 5-6 steps and he stops when we were walking down to meet these people. I said, no, Mzee has not recovered. Then again, it was bad. So I go home, I find Winnie, and then Winnie says, Mzee is not feeling well again. We've done a lot. I thought I'd done this. And Winnie was very, very personal about the father's health, by the way. And she was very present. In fact, what she said is, Dennis, Kana Mzee, let me go catch some rest. I have not rested. So I sat with Mzee there. So I used to go there once in a while, just to go and sit with Mzee. And in this process, then I saw Mzee at his worst health-wise. So when he recovered from this COVID, and this is a man who sat and said, who called for his medical records and said, let me show you how bad this thing is. Even when I left, George said, hey, Mzee really trusts you. I asked him why. I said, but Mzee has shared with you his personal medical records. I told George, but that is Mzee. That is Mzee. That's Mzee. Mzee ako hivyo tu. That's Mzee. So when he died, when he rested, in my head, Mzee rested. And he kept on saying, we'll fight this. We'll be out of this soon. We'll be back on the campaign trail. And I remember, by the way, there's a photo that was released where some of our political leaders were in State House when Mzee was ailing in Karen. And then, of course, because I'm a champion of Mzee and it's very personal to me, I felt slighted. Why are these politicians in State House and when Mzee is ailing? I wanted to show him that photo. I said, no, why will I want to do it? I just felt, why are you meeting Uhuru Kenyatta and you're party leader is sick. What are we trying to say? Yeah, but maybe it was in good faith, to be honest, because Mzee personally told me that Uhuru Kenyatta really stepped in to make sure that it got better. A lot was done personally by the president to make sure that Mzee got better. A lot. A lot was done, and he said it. So when I met him, when I got this news, I was at Nation Center with Governor Sakaja. He was doing an interview there. So someone called me at 7 o'clock and he said, "Have you heard anything about Mzee?" I said, "This is the same rumor that has been there for the last." In my head, I said, "No, I have not heard. What have you heard?" I hear things are not very good. I asked why. He said because someone close to him has posted something online on their WhatsApp profile photo, something like that. I said maybe that someone must have lost someone in the family. That's why she has done it. He said no. Someone else has also written something that the lion has rested. Okay. So then shortly, someone close to Mzee called and said, "Ndugu, this is the second time I'm calling you in 5 months to give you bad news." Yeah, so I told him, so Mzee has rested? He said, yes, he has rested. Okay. So I disconnected the line because I consult for Governor Sakaja and I work for him. I sent him a text and I told him Mzee has rested. And then the governor said, "I know, and I'm finding it very difficult to be on this show." But we pushed on for like an hour. So now there was that push and pull. Do we tell the public? And then now calls were coming in. Let's wait for State House to do it. This is beyond us. What can we do? And shock of shocks, I don't think many people knew that I'd stopped working for Mzee, but I still consulted for him. So the number of calls that came in, there was so many. So every time I used to say, yes, he has passed on, but including you, including Chaka here, and even Madam Speaker here was like, "Why didn't you tell me?" I said, "I heard about it, but we had to wait because I think I've been in places where people have died before they have died, and then you're in this place where people ask you, why were you too fast to say some things?" So was I shocked? Yes. Was I terrified? No, because I think we had a million conversations with Raila Odinga about death, and the only thing that he used to say that fascinated him is, what exactly do people talk about when they die? What is beyond there? And then he laugh about it. He say, you go there and you find your friends, and then you start from where you lived. You find Nyayo there, you find Jomo there, you find other people. So don't fear death. Don't fear death. That's what he used to say. So sad, but I think it is what it is.
Yeah, as we were having the conversation earlier, how we were all speaking about the late Honorable Raila, it seemed as it is not final. Like, we will see him again. Like, one time we'll switch on the TV and we hear Raila is holding a press conference. Until in the middle of something you said he is, then you corrected yourself and said he was. And for me, I think that's when I can say for sure it has dawned on me that perhaps he will still remain a very revered name in our politics, but we'll never see the Baba, the Mzee, Jacom, and all the names he was called, or the Nini again, in the spirit and the person that he was. And I'd like us to end the episode here because we have so much that we can discuss about the late Honorable Raila Omolo Odinga, because many of us, not just the three of us here, a lot of Kenyans are also processing, what does this mean for us? Like Chaka and I both said, it seemed like both our political consciousness came into play around the same time Raila's political star was rising. So we don't know politics without Raila Odinga. We have never seen it. We have never imagined it. People have tried to kill him on social media here and there, but it's always been like what Chaka said, Alboro, it's like he had 9 lives. That's how today you've killed him, but tomorrow we're back again. So maybe I'd ask both of you, and as we close, to just give your not so final remarks, because this is a series as we honor Mzee. Yeah.
2 things for me. One, I really, really want to appreciate the Luo community in its entirety for the role they have played in this country, for good governance and democracy, all those things. And this outpouring of emotions can be mistaken for hooliganism, but that is what that community is. When they're switched on about something, they're switched on 100%. It is hysteria for them. And if we were young enough, if we were old enough to be here when Jaramogi died, maybe let's see how this plays out. But Jaramogi's death and funeral was exactly what the son is witnessing now. So, but I have a feeling this might be bigger. I have a feeling because of the information age, all those things, I think this is likely to be bigger. So whatever happened, for example, today at JKIA, a very highly, Anar Kasarani, it's something I think what security forces should sit and think about, because when, for example, the president leaves, any president, during this handshake period, even Kibaki's time, when they step into Nyanza region, then that community will somehow takes over the security arrangements of the head of state. It's the only time when you will see people running and holding on to the presidential motorcade. It has never happened anywhere. That is the spirit. That's where they are as a community. And this is one community that, wallahi belai, and I keep saying it, you will show up with a gun, they'll tell you shoot. They'll count for you until you have expended all your bullets, and they'll tell you they're only 14, now we are coming for you. That is that community. And I respect them highly, as much as they'll take some flack because of what happened today and what is likely to happen on Sunday again. But that is it. But my very, very final remarks is that to a large extent, I am what I am today because of Raila Odinga. And I think I'm not even done politically in my political journey. I learned 2 things from Raila Odinga, patience and attitude. Mzee is one guy who used to say, be patient. We have lost elections or stolen from, and we sit in a room the following day when nobody is there, and Mzee will say, we'll start again. And we build something. And those people let us down, who walked out on us, they'll come back again. And Mzee will leave us, people who stood with him to embrace the people who betrayed him in our eyes. But that was Raila for you. Yeah, inauma sana. But that was Mzee for you. So it was one guy who used to say, there's no room for conversations about people. You cannot afford to talk about people. So it was very difficult for you to go and tell him, Mzee, this is being planned, because he will dismiss you. Because, as I said earlier, Raila is one guy, one leader who believed that if he gives you a responsibility, you will do it. You will not shortchange him, but be part of shortchange him over time. So may he rest in peace. And no one is getting out alive. Yes. At the end of the day. Yeah. So it is what it is.
But there's life after death for those who believe in Jesus Christ.
We share the same sentiments, Jack.
I want to say three quick things. Number one, I think I admire a mental strength of Raila Odinga, Honorable Raila Odinga. Because to imagine that this is a man who was a son to the first vice president, in his formative years, went to study abroad, study engineering, comes back highly accomplished, highly qualified, with a master's in mechanical engineering. And he's going about as a lecturer, setting up business and the like, to then being in a dungeon for almost a decade. Anyone who's been in a police cell but now you're in a dungeon, in a basement somewhere, not for 1 day, not for 2 days, not for 3 weeks, not for 3 months, not for 12 months, not for 2 years, not for 3 years. Your mother passes on, you don't get to bury her. It's a dark room. There's no proper system of justice, and you're there for almost a decade. You have a wife, you have children, as we're all parents here, a decade, and you come out and you're still mentally stable enough to speak about the issues of a nation coherently and to inspire hope after so much despair. That speaks to tremendous mental strength. Number two, I think, is the fact that this was a man who, why earlier I said he's an institution is, by its technical definition, politics is a science of government. But in essence, politics is about representation. And the reason we see him going out in characteristic Raila mania, Railophobia style, is because just like he lived in his death, there's pandemonium about him. Why? Because people felt represented. So that's why they felt close to him. It's not just an office. That's why he was often the people's president. As much as he was not accorded all the instruments of office that come with the presidency, people felt represented by him. And politics is about representation. That's why people feel like they have to go to the door of the plane to receive him. And that's why people would feel deep pain. And it teaches us a lot about politics, that ultimately it's not just about the offices and the laws and the procedures and the processes. It's about the principles and the truth of the ideas. Yesterday when we were speaking, we were sharing how the society is actually held together by an invisible fabric. And he had mastered the threads of this fabric, and that's part of what made him enigmatic. So one of the things I'm grateful for about this moment, because every tragedy, every crisis comes with opportunity, is we've been passionate about sensitizing and bringing political consciousness and awareness to Kenya and to the African continent and to people who are not imbued with politics. There's an entire generation of people who are going to learn about the history of our country and the nature of our politics, because for the next few days and several weeks, there's going to be such an intense focus on the journey of this man, and it is in tandem with the history of our country for the last 3 to 4 decades. So it's going to be a key learning moment, and that trajectory, much as we fear what politics is without him, it might actually be a moment of people getting to truly appreciate what Kenyan politics and Kenyan history is and what it is he was fighting for.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the one to close. No, it's because as you guys are speaking, a lot is just playing in my mind, and it's a bit final to say some of the things I'm about to say. But I think for me, my parting shot, or rather to close this conversation, because it can never end, is just, I feel in this moment so much appreciation and gratitude and honor to really have been even in the same presence with Raila. I can in future tell my son, who may not remember this guy and just hear him, all the things about this man. Because for us who are growing up, when we were studying GHC, we just used to hear about Jomo Kenyatta. There was no personal thing, unless you were in the nexus of the Kenyattas. But for me, I was seated in this moment, and I'm like, with every leader in every country, there's always one that completely shapes the country. And Raila Odinga is that person, or was that person. And I think as his memory lives on after, he will continue, or the things that he has done. We're seeing a lot of politicians actually coming up based on what they've learned and seen and been mentored through the School of Politics of Raila Odinga. So for me, it is an immense privilege, for even the briefest and shortest time, to have, I kept saying, the way we tirelessly campaigned for him. I truly believed in a Raila Odinga presidency. I didn't before, but 2022, in being in his presence, being around chairman, the press secretary, who truly and tirelessly, fearlessly always championed Raila Odinga. And he made me now unlearn some of these media narratives that we were eating about. That was what we were painting Raila as. And for me, it's such an honor and a privilege to have been in this space. And for many people who are feeling lost and a bit heartbroken, I think we should turn the lens into the appreciation that we lived in a time where this great man walked this earth. We lived in a time where we heard his words, not from people, but from his own mouth. So we may have all mixed feelings about, especially his most recent political decisions, but we can't take away the years of history that Raila Odinga carried on his back about Kenya. We can't take that away. We can't. Because I saw a lot of people saying, oh, but he betrayed the Gen Z movement. No, he didn't. Because Raila Odinga was more about country than he was about himself. So as we close, maybe my message to our listeners, go into the comment sections and tell us some of your memorable moments of the late Honorable Raila Odinga, because even if he has rested and he's finished his job on this earth, some of the lessons and the memories of him will continue to live on. And like anything, we always want to carry the most positive things about a great giant. And we are also privileged in this era to have lived and walked among such a great man. So with that being said, this is Politically Connected. Catch us on the comment section. Share with us your feelings. It's a heavy moment, and the whole country has come to a pause. And we invite you to breathe out in our comment sections. So till the next time, see you on a screen near you.